One of the first things I'm going to do today is set up my first bus. So I'm going to create a new auxiliary like that. And I'm going to go to the channel strip settings. And maybe something like diffuse hall reverb. The advantage of using buses for effects is that you can route different tracks to the same bus and therefore save processing power. If you've got a reverb on every single track that's more or less doing the same thing, then your CPU is going to struggle to cope with that. So I'm just going to keep that there for now. The first thing I actually want to add is what I call flavor drums, and we want to get that 80s vibe on this track. So what I'm going to do is search for my Lindrum samples. Now we should have some Lindrums. So we've got a range of Lindrum samples there which we can use in the track. Now if you go over to the right hand side of the screen, you might actually see that I've got this project open here, and this is a feature of Logic that doesn't get talked about too much, but you can actually import existing tracks from within other projects to use in the project that you're working on. And once you've got a lot of projects and you have things that you know work from previous times, this can be a real godsend. So if I just highlight the plugin, which is the EXS24, and the content, and then hit add, you'll see that it's brought in a load of Lindrum samples that I've previously played in, and I kind of know that they work. And you see what it also does, it brings in the channel strip setting that you'd recorded in your previous project. So if I open this up here, you'll see that I've got a slight millisecond delay on the attack. I've got a short decay, full sustain, and short to medium release. But I've also added in some overdrive. So if I just loop a little bit of the sound here. And solo that. You see, without that, you don't get that distortion harmonic kind of cut through. We have a sidechain, which is already working on bus 1. The Clothgeist that we made a couple of videos ago. And I've put some EQ around the 2800 area just to bring out those lower highs. But it still sounds a bit flat, so I'm going to send it to that bus that I just made. Need more cowbell? I'm going to get rid of that one now because this is now doing that same job. I just wanted to demonstrate to you where we get the samples from. And much the same as using Apple loops, I believe in using things like channel strips, like importing tracks from existing projects. Anything that helps you save time and gets you to a position where you can execute an idea more quickly and more efficiently. I'm all for that, because one of the biggest problems that we face as producers is when we get an idea, we get lost in the details, How are we going to work on a hi-hat that works good with that? Are we going to put its snare? Does it need something else? Does it need more percussive layering? And you get so involved in the minutiae, the details, that you forget to focus on the initial idea. And the vitality of that initial idea is really important. So remove as many barriers as you can. Okay, so let's add a bit more flavour. I thought, seeing as we've already used a Lindrum, we may as well go completely nuts and add a Simmons drum kit. Now, I don't think Logic has a Simmons, so I'm going to use Native Instruments Contact 5, which doesn't come with Logic. You have to go and buy that one, I'm afraid. And I'm going to load up my Simmons kit. Here it is. Can't find the files, even though they're right there. There they are. So, if you live in the UK and you've seen EastEnders, then you know exactly what a Simmons drum kit sounds like. Yeah. I'm going to create the new empty MIDI region, but this is just going to be like a turnaround effect, so I'm just going to have it on the end of the bars. And what we want to do is kind of mimic how a real person would play that sound. I'll put that one there. I'm going to solo it again. Yeah. That works. And then on the last one, I want something a bit more like kind of solid sounding, so more like a bap bap. Now, when I talk about mimicking how a drummer plays, then they usually have two sticks, so you can kind of add in a second tone, and it will sound quite authentic. Come on, give me a pitch. There we go. That one's a bit flat sounding, so maybe something a bit more open again. Well, that works, but I've got this key command, which is not to overlap MIDI regions. I forget what it's actually called, but I've got it set to K. So if I shorten those, you'll see that they all sounds pretty good. I'm going to put some compressor on it because that will work really well on this kind of sound. Open up Contact. Change the release a little bit. I'm going to add in one of my Pultec style EQs from Nomad Factory. And then maybe a little bit of gated reverb. Logic has some good ones for that. Pretty good. to that in context with everything else. That works really well with the little Lin choke. We're going to need a symbol in there and some other stuff, but you can begin to see how we can create good percussive effects around the turnarounds to introduce new elements.